Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
June Allyson, Biography. June Allyson was an American actress, singer, and dancer whose wholesome charm, raspy voice, and girl-next-door warmth made her one of Hollywood's most beloved stars of the 1940s and 1950s. Known for her natural sincerity and radiant optimism, she became one of MGM's most bankable leading ladies during Hollywood's golden age. Early life. June Allyson was born Eleanor Geisman on October 7, 1917, in the Bronx, New York City. Her childhood was marked by hardship. Her father left the family when she was young, and at age 8, she was severely injured in a bicycle accident that left her temporarily paralyzed. Doctors doubted she would walk again, but through determination and swimming therapy, she made a remarkable recovery. This resilience would later define her both personally and professionally. She attended James Monroe High School in the Bronx and developed an early interest in dancing. To support herself and her mother, she began performing in amateur nightclubs and later joined the vaudeville circuit as a dancer. Her talent eventually led her to Broadway. Career beginnings. June made her Broadway debut in the early 1930s as a chorus girl, appearing in several musical revues. Her breakthrough came when she was cast in the musical Best Foot Forward, 1941, where her energetic charm caught the attention of MGM executives. When the show was adapted for film in 1943, Allyson was chosen to reprise her role, marking the beginning of her successful movie career. Hollywood stardom. Under MGM, Allyson quickly became one of the studio's brightest stars. She specialized in wholesome, optimistic roles, often portraying loyal girlfriends, supportive wives, and all-American sweethearts. Her husky voice and down-to-earth warmth distinguished her from other glamorous leading ladies of the time. Some of her most celebrated films include Two Girls and a Sailor, 1944, her first big hit alongside Van Johnson; Music for Millions, 1944, The Glenn Miller Story, 1954, opposite James Stewart; Little Women, 1949, where she played the spirited Jo March; Executive Suite, 1954, The Stratton Story, 1949, with James Stewart again, in one of her most acclaimed performances. She was often paired with James Stewart, Van Johnson, and Dick Powell, her real-life husband. Together, she and Powell were considered one of Hollywood's most admired couples. Personal life. June Allyson married actor and singer Dick Powell in 1945, and their marriage lasted until his death in 1963. The couple adopted two children, Pamela and Richard. After Powell's passing, Allyson faced deep grief but eventually found new purpose through philanthropic work. She later remarried twice, to producer Glenn Maxwell and then to Dr. David Ashrow, a dentist and actor, with whom she shared a long, happy marriage until his death in 2011. Later career and legacy. After leaving MGM, Allyson continued acting in television and on stage. She appeared in the 1960s sitcom The DuPont Show with June Allyson and made guest appearances on various shows throughout the 1970s and 1980s. In her later years, she became a spokesperson for adult incontinence products, a decision that broke taboos at the time and helped normalize discussions about aging with dignity. June Allyson's screen presence represented the best of classic Hollywood: sincerity, strength, and optimism. She received a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in 1951 and was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Death. June Allyson passed away on July 8, 2006, at the age of 88, in Ojai, California. Her legacy endures through her films, which continue to capture the spirit of post-war America and remind audiences of a time when sincerity and sweetness were cinematic gold. Career evolution and MGM stardom. By the mid-1940s, June Allyson had become a symbol of optimism and American wholesomeness in a time when audiences sought comfort and hope after World War II. MGM carefully cultivated her image as the perfect girl next door, bright, loyal, and emotionally genuine. She often played opposite some of the era's most admired leading men, including James Stewart, Van Johnson, and Peter Lawford. Her chemistry with them was effortless. But her partnership with James Stewart in The Stratton Story, 1949, and The Glenn Miller Story, 1954, was especially memorable. Audiences loved their natural rapport, both warm and quietly powerful. Although many of her films leaned toward sentimentality, Allyson's performances carried emotional truth. She could portray joy, heartbreak, and resilience with equal grace. Critics often praised her for her ability to cry with conviction, tears that felt real rather than staged, making her one of the most relatable actresses of her generation. In Little Women, 1949, her portrayal of Jo March captured a strong, independent spirit that resonated with post-war women balancing family and ambition. This role remains one of her most beloved performances. Marriage to Dick Powell. June Allyson met Dick Powell while filming Meet the People, 1944. Powell was a former crooner-turned-actor, known for reinventing himself in film noir roles such as Murder, My Sweet, 1944. The two fell deeply in love and married in 1945, forming one of Hollywood's most admired partnerships. Their marriage wasn't just romantic, it was also creative. They collaborated on several projects, including The Reformer and the Redhead, 1950, and Right Cross, 1950. Together, they embodied the ideal of the loving, stable Hollywood couple, a rare image amid the industry's turbulence. However, life wasn't without challenges. The couple struggled privately with infertility, eventually choosing to adopt two children, Pamela and Richard. Allyson often spoke about how motherhood changed her life and priorities. When Dick Powell died in 1963 from cancer, Allyson was devastated. She once described his death as the darkest period of her life, saying, "He was my whole world." Over time, she rebuilt herself emotionally and turned her energy toward charitable causes and television and later work. After leaving MGM, Allyson transitioned to television, a move that few Golden Age stars managed successfully. She hosted The DuPont Show with June Allyson, 1959 to 1961, an anthology drama series where she introduced and occasionally starred in heartfelt stories about family and courage. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, she appeared in guest roles on series such as The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote, and Heart to Heart. She also performed in stage productions, keeping her connection to live audiences alive. Though her film career had slowed, Allyson's public image remained beloved. Her honesty and candor later made her a respected spokesperson for mature women, notably through her long-running campaign with Depend products, helping remove stigma from discussions about aging and health, personal resilience, and later years. In her later life, June Allyson became an advocate for cancer research, elder care, and women's health issues. She often spoke about her husband's death and how it inspired her to support medical causes that helped others. She later married Glenn Maxwell, though the union ended in divorce. Her final marriage to Dr. David Ashrow, a retired dentist and actor, was one of companionship and happiness. They frequently appeared together at film retrospectives and charity events, celebrating the golden age of Hollywood. Allyson published her memoir, June Allyson, in 1982, a candid and touching look at her struggles, triumphs, and enduring optimism. Death and legacy. June Allyson passed away on July 8, 2006, in Ojai, California, at the age of 88, after suffering from respiratory failure and bronchitis. Her death marked the passing of one of Hollywood's last great stars of the MGM musical era. Yet her legacy lives on, in her warmth, sincerity, and quiet strength that defined a generation of filmgoers. Film historian Janine Basinger once wrote, "June Allyson was not glamorous in the Hollywood sense. But she had something more powerful: she made people believe in goodness." Her films, particularly The Stratton Story, Little Women, The Glenn Miller Story, and Two Girls and a Sailor, continue to be celebrated for their heartfelt portrayals of love, resilience, and faith in ordinary life. June Allyson. The heart of MGM's golden era. June Allyson's name evokes a distinct era of American cinema, a time when movie stars symbolized the ideals of optimism, courage, and integrity. While other MGM actresses of the 1940s represented glamour or sophistication, Allyson embodied warmth, sincerity, and trust. She was the every woman audiences could root for, not perfect, but always genuine. Her screen persona during the 1940s and 1950s, audiences often sought comfort and inspiration in their movie heroes. Allyson's characters offered both. She became known as the all-American girl, yet her appeal reached far beyond cliches. Her performances were emotionally honest. She could make tears feel authentic and laughter feel spontaneous. Her trademark husky voice, born partly from childhood illness, gave her a unique vocal charm that contrasted with her wholesome looks. She wasn't glamorous in the way of Lana Turner or Ava Gardner, but she exuded a quiet sensuality through her kindness and warmth. Film critic Pauline Kael once described her as the girl you could trust with your secrets and your heart. Notable film highlights. June Allyson's filmography includes over 40 features, spanning musicals, comedies, dramas, and romances. Some of her most memorable include Best Foot Forward, 1943, her film debut, reprising her Broadway role. This light-hearted musical introduced her cheerful presence to Hollywood audiences. Two Girls and a Sailor, 1944, a wartime morale booster, pairing her with Van Johnson. The film's success made Allyson a star. Music for Millions, 1944, a touching drama that showcased her dramatic abilities opposite Margaret O'Brien and Jimmy Durante. Till the Clouds Roll By, 1946, a Jerome Kern musical biography where Allyson played stage actress Marilyn Miller. The Stratton Story, 1949, one of her finest performances, portraying the devoted wife of a baseball player, James Stewart, recovering from tragedy. Little Women, 1949, her spirited, tomboyish Jo March remains one of the most beloved portrayals of Louisa May Alcott's heroine. The Glenn Miller Story, 1954, a tender biographical film that earned her critical acclaim and further solidified her partnership with James Stewart. Executive Suite, 1954, a corporate drama showcasing her ability to handle more serious, adult material. The Opposite Sex, 1956, a musical remake of The Women, in which she displayed a more mature, glamorous side. Each role demonstrated Allyson's capacity to blend strength with vulnerability, joy with realism, and sentiment with sincerity. The James Stewart connection among her many screen partners. James Stewart stood out as her most enduring collaborator. Their natural chemistry, both understated and deeply affectionate, mirrored the ideals of mid-century America: marriage, loyalty, and quiet resilience. In The Stratton Story and The Glenn Miller Story, the two created cinematic marriages that audiences believed in completely. Off-screen, they shared mutual respect and deep friendship. Stewart once remarked, "June was the kind of woman every man dreamed of coming home to." Life after Dick Powell. The death of Dick Powell in 1963 left June Allyson emotionally shattered. She withdrew from public life for several years, grieving the loss of not only her husband but also her creative partner. Powell had encouraged her career, co-produced her television series, and shared her ideals of professionalism and grace. Eventually, Allyson returned to acting, and to life. She described her comeback as a quiet climb from heartbreak back to purpose. Her later television and stage work gave her the opportunity to mentor younger actors and to remind audiences of a gentler, more romantic era of entertainment. Television and reinvention. In The DuPont Show with June Allyson, 1959 to 1961, she introduced dramatic stories emphasizing courage, morality, and compassion, qualities she personified. The show was notable for giving women leading roles in serious dramas, something relatively rare for television at the time. In later decades, she made guest appearances on programs such as The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote, and Heart to Heart, charming a new generation who knew her mainly from nostalgic film retrospectives. Her candor and good humor made her a beloved talk show guest well into the 1980s and 1990s. When asked about aging, she replied, "You never lose your sparkle, you just shine in a softer light." Humanitarian work and advocacy. June Allyson was also deeply devoted to public service. After her husband's passing, she became an advocate for cancer research and elder health initiatives. Her willingness to publicly endorse Depend products in the 1980s, something unheard of for a star of her stature, helped destigmatize medical discussions around aging. She also established the June Allyson Foundation for Public Awareness and Medical Research, continuing her late husband's commitment to helping others. Awards and honors. June Allyson's contributions to cinema were widely recognized. Among her honors, Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, 1951, for Too Young to Kiss. Star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, 1960, at 1537 Vine Street. Lifetime Achievement Awards from various film and nostalgic organizations, including the American Cinema Awards and the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival. Final years and passing. June Allyson spent her later years quietly in Ojai, California, with her husband Dr. David Ashrow. She continued to attend film festivals, tributes, and fan conventions, always gracious to those who remembered her work. She passed away peacefully on July 8, 2006, at age 88. Her husband said she had been surrounded by love, laughter, and fond memories of the life she'd built from perseverance and kindness. Legacy. June Allyson's legacy lies not in scandal or glamour, but in decency and authenticity, traits that made her stand out even among Hollywood royalty. She brought a realism to idealism, showing that being good-hearted could also be powerful. To generations of viewers, she remains the woman who smiled through tears, who found hope in adversity, and who embodied the best of America's cinematic spirit. "I wasn't the most beautiful, or the most glamorous," Allyson once said, "but I was always real, and maybe that's why people remembered me." June Allyson, a deeper biography from the Bronx to Broadway. June Allyson's story is one of triumph over adversity. Born Eleanor Geisman in the Bronx, New York, on October 7, 1917, she grew up during the Great Depression in a working-class family. Her father, Robert Geisman, left the family when she was a child, leaving June and her mother, Clara, to survive on limited means. When June was 8 years old, a freak accident changed her life. While riding a homemade scooter, a tree branch fell, breaking her back and fracturing her skull. Doctors predicted she might never walk again. Yet through swimming therapy and sheer determination, she made a miraculous recovery. The experience forged in her a lifelong sense of discipline and gratitude, qualities that would define her screen persona. By her teens, she was dancing in amateur clubs and performing in vaudeville to support her mother. Her early performances were in small-time New York clubs, where she was known for her tap dancing, expressive face, and natural charm. She eventually landed chorus roles in Broadway shows such as Sing Out the News, 1938, and Yokel Boy, 1939. Her big break came in 1941, when she joined the cast of the hit musical Best Foot Forward. Her lively performance caught the eye of MGM talent scouts, and soon she was signed to a film contract in Hollywood. Transitioned to Hollywood when she arrived at MGM in 1943, Allyson was part of the studio's effort to discover a new generation of stars who could embody American optimism during and after World War II. The studio had glamorous icons like Lana Turner and Hedy Lamarr, but June was different. She represented.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.